Well, hello everyone and welcome. We are doing another music licensing tips last Sunday of the month live broadcast. Glad you guys could make it. We have a small crowd today, but that's totally fine. My name is Doug Diamond and I'm glad you guys made it. I'm a music supervisor and music licensing person. I do the day-to-day handling of the music, the tracks that come in for musicops.com. And let me actually show you that site. We can pull that up real quick. So musicops.com is a place where you can go as an independent musician. If you've never had any placements, you can go there and learn about kind of how it works and learn about what it is exactly that we do and the different placement opportunities that we provide indie musicians like yourself. And what I do is, me and my team, we listen to the songs that come in through MusicOps, and we figure out the best opportunities that we can find to place, or at least pitch, your songs. Now, we don't guarantee placements, obviously. No one can do that. However, what we do like to do is give you the benefit of the doubt and listen to your song, and even though you have maybe submitted it for a certain particular opportunity that interests you, it may or may not work for that actual opportunity, so we will consider it for that one, but we will also consider it for any others that we have open at the time. So, for instance, if you go to musicops.com and click on all opportunities, you will see a list of all of them. The top one here on the page is Apple Music playlist placement. We also have a Spotify one if your music's on either Apple Music or Spotify. We have a VR simulator, virtual reality simulator video game. We have a few different libraries that we pitch music to as well. Commercial library placement. There's the Spotify one. We pitch music to Fox Sports. And we also do music videos. If you have a really top quality type of music video, we pitch to Costco and Target and Walmart, and also retail situations that could potentially play your music video, give you good exposure and or bring in some money. That's always a good thing. We have global music production catalog, action sports video games, Sirius XM, you name it. There's a whole bunch of them on there, and if you happen to be a BroadJam member, we also have many of those same ones over on BroadJam. You could submit either place. It's essentially the same people listening and pitching your songs. We prefer that, if possible, that you go through our site just because there's a few more opportunities there that you may not see on BroadJam. We don't run them all on BroadJam, but BroadJam's great. It's an excellent community of independent musicians, singer-songwriters, rock bands, pop folks, and country, and you name it. It's a really good place to be as well. MusicOps isn't really a community per se. It's more of an a la carte, like an a la carte type of service where you can go there and submit one song for one opportunity or bulk. We also handle bulk submissions, people that want to submit, say, 10 songs for 10 different opportunities. We do both, so feel free to peruse that website if you want and learn more about what it is exactly that I do. I handle the day-to-day with MusicOps, but I'm also an independent music supervisor and mastering and mixing engineer too. And you might say, well, that's a weird combination. How did that work? And I've been a mastering engineer for many years. I moved to Nashville in 1993 from Los Angeles and started a mastering business in about 1996, Diamondisc Audio, and that is my company that I still run today. And then quite a few years later, in 2010, I did a 2-year program with Berklee Online, which I love Berklee. Such great classes, great folks. I did a 2-year program, and one of the last classes that I took was one with a great guy named Brad Hatfield, music supervision. And I learned all about being a music supervisor and realized I was already kind of doing some of that job anyway. So what I did was I pursued music supervision in addition to already being a mastering and mix engineer, which I'd already been doing for quite a while. So here we are today. I am kind of doing both. I really enjoy the mastering and mixing technical side of things. That's kind of where my background comes from, working in music production and the technical side, doing mastering projects for some pretty big names, but also for lots and lots of unknowns, independent musicians and bands such as yourself, most likely. And that's where actually I enjoy that type of work the most, just because it has the most satisfaction, being able to take someone's song who may need a little bit more polishing, than say a major label type of artist would. So I really like the challenge of working with independent musicians, and so that's kind of where I've centered most of what I do. So anyway, we are here today to do some music licensing live critique sessions, and if you've never been here before, welcome. I'm glad you made it. These things usually last about 2 hours, although today I don't think we're going to go that long because we only had about 4 submissions, which is about half of the normal amount. So you're in for a short broadcast today, which is fine with me. I have other things to do, and I'm sure you do as well, but I thought we could at least address the submissions, I'm sure, that are quality submissions that have come in already. And we do this live stream broadcast once a month. We always do the last Sunday of the month. It just that's the best day for me personally as far as working schedule-wise, and there's no point really doing them more than once a month. So the next one will be Sunday, April the 25th. So we have a month from, actually just under a month from now. So that'll be the next one. So hopefully you guys can make it. If you're on the list and you're here, then you're welcome to just, feel free to share it with your friends and other musicians and people that you know. However, there's no stipulation that you have to spend anything. I mean, you could just be here and learn. And that's what most people do. They just come here and learn and hopefully get some good tips on different things that they could do in their music career, and that's why we're here. If you have paid to be here today as far as submitting a song, please say hello in chat if you haven't already. Let me see who's in there. Shell I Am, hello and welcome. Oh, that's Dougie's here. Tony Taylor, hello Tony. And I know Ed's here and Kevin. Yeah, okay, well good. We have a good, oh hey Elaine, glad you made it. We have a good collection of folks here, so I'm glad you guys made it today. I guess it's spring has sprung, so people are out doing other things. So we didn't get as many submissions this month as we normally have, which is totally fine with me. And so we can focus a little bit more on the 4 that came in and give it some good attention. So we'll do that. Let's see here. Before we get away today, let me show you my website. If you guys have never seen it, it's diamondiscaudio.com. It's a pretty new website. I built it about 3 or 4 months ago, something like that. And feel free to go there for more information. If you go to across the top, you'll see a toolbar, and it lists the services, and sync licensing is one of them. If you just go to the sync licensing page and you scroll down a little bit, you will see an embedded archive of all of the broadcasts that we have done going back to January of 2020. So we're well into over a year of doing these live stream broadcasts. And then also, if you scroll down just a little further, you'll see the Q&A sessions. And these are playlists. So you'll see a video here that's embedded, but they're actually playlists, and you can skip through the different ones. And same way with the live streams as well. You just go back sort of in time a little bit, and you can go through any of those you want. And then below those 2 embedded videos, I have a partial list of some of my placements and success stories. If you're wondering, hey, who is this guy? What's he ever done? This page has a list of some successful placements. They're not all on here, but a good chunk of them are. So that's a good place to go start if you like. And in the meantime, if you're interested in mastering services, I would love to work with you. And I've got a whole page on here about mastering and the different rates. My prices for mastering have not changed since I started my business. 1996. So my prices for mastering are the same that they were in 1996. I don't think very many people can say that about their business if they've had one open that long. My prices have not gone up. So take that for what it's worth. I think that's pretty cool. That just means that translates into savings for you guys. So anyway, I would love to work with you guys as far as mastering goes too. So you can reach me through my website. You can also reach me through Music Ops as well if you submit any tracks there. So let's get right into it. We have, I know Dougie's here, and he has submitted his track by Shall I Am, Firefly. So we're going to do that one first. And we've got, let's see here, we've got Kevin here today as well. He said hello. And Tony has submitted a song, but I don't know if he's here yet. And then we also have Mick from the Silvers. So we'll do those a little bit later just to give them a chance to get into the live stream. So if you guys are here and you have submitted a track, say hello over in chat for me if you don't mind, just so I know you're here. I like to wait and do your track when I know you're here in case you have any questions you want to ask me live while we're listening to your track. Anyway, that's the idea, and so let's get right into this first song, Firefly. What I like to do is listen through to the whole song and then make my comments and stuff after that's over, and we'll go back and kind of jump around and listen to some different parts of the song, and I'll make some comments on what I feel the production value is like, and then also any tips or pointers I could give you as far as something that would appeal to people like myself who do placements and what I'm looking for, and also, you know, just in general, where your song might fit as far as you know, does your song really kind of, would it go well on the radio, like a satellite radio type situation, or maybe a library, or, you know, maybe it would be a really great song for a commercial or something like that. So we're going to address those things today. So let's jump right into Firefly. Here we go.
You pay 100 dimes to hear the story of a firefly.
Wow, cool track. I really dig that one. That was really, really good. Let's see. So I'm glad that Dougie or somebody had put the lyrics on here. Shall I Am. That's a cool name as well. So I like the lyric. It seems pretty universal, I would say, is the word I'm looking for. It's it's not really specifically about something that would really pigeonhole the song, it seems to me. So therefore, coming from a placement standpoint, I feel like it's something that we could pitch for different things and not be quite so limited because of the lyric. And that's something that I've run into many, many times, as far as, you might have a really great song and good production value and a good hook and good performances, and yet the song is highly specific, meaning that the lyric is about something really specific, which makes it really difficult to place, because for it to work, it really, the lyric has to fit what's happening on picture, on the television, as far as whatever the video might be. Even if it's a video game, it still has to work from a story standpoint, from a character standpoint. So you just have to be very aware of that when you pitch your songs for music placement consideration, because I think a lot of people don't really think about that too much, or they go to the other extreme and they'll write a song specifically about a certain thing and want to pitch it for that. For instance, I do a lot of sports music pitching, so they'll write a song about playing football, or they'll write a song about driving a car, as far as like pitching it for NASCAR, or they'll write a song about playing hockey, that type of stuff. That is really, really specific, and in the music licensing and music supervision world, that's called too on the nose. That just means too specific. And the reason that doesn't work is because usually if you match something to picture that has a really specific lyric, oftentimes the editor will be the first one to tell you it'll be really cheesy. It'll look kind of cheesy because the lyric is perfectly describing what's happening on the screen, and it just doesn't work. So in the context of this song, I'm not really looking at this one necessarily for sports. However, I guess it could work just depending on the context, but I like this one. I think it's a good one that could be pitched easily for a library or radio, probably both, like a Sirius XM type of satellite radio. That's who we pitch to, as well as retail rotation, and I think it could work in either one of those situations. It has enough energy, so let's jump around and listen to some other parts of the song and see if anything else kind of jumps out at me. But I did notice that the production value of it is really, really well done. And Dougie's songs that he sends are always that way. So, he really knows his stuff as far as finding really great artists who can really sing and they can really do their thing, and has good production value, which again, coming from a technical standpoint, that's the first thing that I notice when I listen to a new piece of music, no matter who it is. The first thing I notice is it a good recording? Is it a good sounding production in general? And you could have the best song in the world, and if it's got a terrible production value, in other words, it just doesn't sound good as far as the final recording that you're sending, I can't pitch it. It really has to sound extraordinary. It really needs to beat your competition, the competitors. So that's a huge one, production value. But on the other hand, you can have a song that sounds immaculate and perfect, and have it is still not that great because maybe the hook isn't that good, or maybe the lyric isn't really that memorable, or there's different variations, different variables that go into it for sure. Or maybe the performances aren't quite right. Maybe it's a great melody, maybe it's a great production value, and the singer can't sing. That happens a lot. You wouldn't, I don't know if you probably heard some folks like that. However, in this case, we do not have that issue. Shall I Am is a very good singer. I like the vocals a lot, and I really like the background vocals, what they were doing too. And so let's jump around and listen to some parts of the song.
Story of a firefly that burns so bright it caught a light. Now you feel
background vocals, what they're doing right there. Just kind of long oohs and ahs, you know. But the mix is excellent. I mean, it just sounds like a song you'd hear on the radio, and it's really good from that standpoint. It doesn't sound like it needs anything else to sound like a major label type of quality song. And I know, lots of people hate the major labels, and I'm not a huge fan, but, we all have our favorite artists, and most of them are on major labels. And, you can, I guess you could argue the point that major labels don't have that great of music, but they used to. And I think the quality of what comes out of major labels as far as the production value is always excellent because they spend a lot of money on the records that they put out. So this song to me is one of those that I would say you could mistake it for being major label quality. And that's kind of what we're going for here. We want to be able to mistake your song for a major label artist. And that is not a slight or a put down in any way. We just, the songs that we pitch, we want to be great songs. Good is fine. Good songs are okay. However, we really like to pitch great songs, not just good songs. And I try and differentiate that as well. So let's go through and listen to a little bit more here.
You give up.
Kind of a nice little stop there, a little break in the action. One of the things that came to mind to me of this particular song is that this song you could take the lead vocal off of it and have it be an instrumental with just the backing vocals, and perhaps pitch it for things like sports, and potentially get some other possibilities as far as where you could get a placement. And that goes with just about any type of song. You could have any song and strip the vocal off of it and have what I call a TV mix, which is just the instrumental mix with the background vocals in there as well. And in this case, you'd have the oohs and the ahs and the things like that left in, and then have a version with no vocal, which I'm sure, something of this quality, they probably have already thought of that. And if not, definitely go back to the studio and have a version like that as well, because one of the first things that happens usually when I pitch a song and my client, whoever it is, if they like it, oftentimes they'll ask for an instrumental, especially if it's being considered for anything visual. So not necessarily like a Sirius XM or a retail rotation, they would not ask for an instrumental. What I'm talking about is where you're pitching something for picture. Could be an independent film, it could be a commercial, it could be a video game, it could be a TV show, any of those types of things. If my client says, yes, we love the song, can you send it to us? The next sentence is, and also the instrumental. So just be sure you have that ready, and I would say have not only the instrumental, which would be no vocals, just the instruments, but also have that TV mix available, which is the version that has the background vocals and the music, but no lead vocals. So have those three things, your final main mix that you have, your TV mix, and your instrumental mix. Hopefully that's helpful. But most of the people that are at this level of production quality, I've already thought of that. So I'm just letting you guys know that that's something that is often asked for.
They look so bright, you feel alive. It's such is the sky with you. And you go off the night that I go on. Well, I'm free now. Well, I'm free now. Well, I'm free now. Well, I'm free now. We all need something to hold on.
I don't know. I mean, I can almost hear this song in a commercial. I feel like it could really work in that context. Let's see what you guys are saying in chat. Let's see. Love the vocal. Well done, Kevin says. I agree. Totally. Nice arrangement, production, and vocal style. And sounds great. I also like the background vocals. Yeah, Elaine, Kevin, Tony, I totally agree with what you're saying. Shell I Am, congratulations. I think it's a really, really good track. I think it's something that we could certainly pitch for probably a library. I think the commercial library might work well because it almost has a commercial type of sound to it. Not just commercial meaning wide appeal, but commercial as in advertisements. Adverts, as they say in the UK. I think it could work in that context, especially with the oohs and the ahs. It kind of gives the song a lift emotionally, and that's also something that's kind of a variable that most people don't think about, and that is that when you're listening to a song, a really great song, you're going to connect to it on an emotional level as a listener, meaning the emotional value is oftentimes just as important as the production value. The technical aspects of the song are important, but the emotional aspects of the song may be more important. And that comes into also the quality of the melody, the main hook of the song. And does it stick with you after you turn the song off? And for me, after I shut the song off, I'm still hearing it sort of ringing in my ears as far as the background vocals and that main hook that she has here in this track. So let's see if that happens for you too. Let me play a little bit more of it. Good song though.
Jumping right now, jumping right now, jumping right now, jumping right now. Sing your song, sing your song, and cry. The night that I go on.
But very, very cool. I like it a lot. It's one of those things where, it's called Firefly, and she does say the word Firefly in the second line, but that's not really the chorus. So, it has a unique title. Firefly to me is a fairly unique title. It's not just like a love song type of title. It's something that's one word. It's simple to remember. It may or may not really reflect the chorus of the song, and I don't think that's really that important. But the main melody, the main hook that I'm hearing in the song are these O's, the whoa-oh-ohs, and the wild and free now and the echo of the night that I call on. That's really the chorus, and that could be useful for a variety of different things from a sync standpoint. It could be pitched for different possibilities just based on the emotional value of the song alone. That if you're looking for something that gives you a lift, that gives you an emotional high in a scene, in a film or a TV show or a commercial, like I said, this might be the perfect song for that kind of thing. So anyway, I think good job, Shell I Am. That's a very unique name as well, and I think it's a very memorable song and an excellent first submission today. So well done. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me check chat here. She just says, thanks. Okay, yeah, you're welcome. No problem. I hear it as an outro for a feel-good movie. Yeah, Kevin, that's a great idea. Yeah, it does have that sort of, that, like I keep saying, lift, but it's that that kind of, I guess it's like a undescribable element, which is really good, Ed is saying, are all the vocals the same artist? That's a good question. I'm not sure. I would say so, but I don't know. Maybe Shell I Am, weigh in on that and let us know. Are you doing all of the vocals, period? Or do you have, are you working with some other background vocalists? Maybe let us know. That's a good question, Ed. I'm not sure. To me, it kind of sounds like the same person, but we'll see what she says. A lot of people saying that they really like the vocals. So yeah, the vocals are really good. Anyway, excellent. Well, I'll come back to chat and we'll keep looking at that. But very good first submission, and feel free to write me if you have any questions or whatever. But I would certainly steer you toward licensing as far as picture goes. Probably commercials would be my first choice. Now with Music Ops, we do have a commercial library that we work with, and are in process of adding some new ones. So that's, I think, a really good possibility. I would also say definitely you can't go wrong on this as far as pitching it for like retail radio or Also for like a Sirius XM satellite radio, it could easily fit on radio. To me, it has the right energy for our retail client. They like that style of pop song that is nice and crisp and clean sounding with an uplifting vibe to it. And I think this has all those elements. So I would be happy to pitch it for you for retail radio for sure. And as well as some of the libraries that we work with too. I think it might be a good option there. She says, no, the backing vocals are not mine. I had 2 vocalists come in. Okay, there you go. So that answers our question. But they're really good. They're really like it's a key element to the song. That's why I was saying that, you could potentially pitch the song for other things and have other possibilities open up to you without the lead vocal on there. Not that the lead vocal is a problem. It's not at all. It just gives you another option of something you can pitch. It's almost like having 2 versions of your song. And again, if it's a sync opportunity, my clients pretty much always ask for the instrumental version too. So just so you know. Hopefully that's helpful. Let's see, and where I'd like to sing what. Okay, yeah. So she was saying that the background vocals are not mine. I had 2 vocalists come in. I just explained to them what phrases I'd like them to sing and where to sing. So she was the vocal arranger. That's what she was. So that's great. Again, good first submission here. Let's move on. But I think that's a good one to get started here. Let's see. We've got Kevin's song. Kevin, I know you're here today, so let's check out Red Heels by Kevin Winkle. Here we go. Try and get rid of any commercials, but we'll see what happens. Nope. SoundCloud likes their ads. Heels. Red Heels. Very cool. All right, let me refresh the page. Kevin, good track. I dig it. Yep. So let's see here. Upbeat, piano-driven, sassy, hybrid jazz. Yep, definitely. It's all of those things. And I think that this song is really, really useful from a editor standpoint because I can hear the different parts happening where, you know, you might have certain pieces of this song that work really well for a specific type of visual versus some other parts. You know, the part 3/4 of the way through or so where you just have the kind of the breakdown area where there's the rim shot and the other stuff going on. That's pretty cool, and that could work for something by itself versus the part before it. So let's listen to some different parts of this song, kind of jump around a little bit. But I really like this song a lot. I think that even the title seems to me to fit it really well. Red Heels, it does sound sort of sassy. So good job, Kevin. I think this is a really good one. And then for you guys who may or may not be aware, Kevin has submitted tracks on our Sunday live streams, I don't know, for several months now, off and on. And I know that some of his tracks just recently got picked up with a music library that we work with at Music Ops. So congrats, Kevin, on that. Hopefully that will result in some placements for you at some point. And that's the reason that we're here today, is to steer you guys in the right direction so that hopefully, you know, what we're doing here is that if we can steer you in the right direction, you know better where to submit your tracks so that therefore you have a more likely chance, at least, as far as getting picked up by someone. And in this case, Kevin got some tracks picked up by a library recently that we work with. So I think that's really great. Let's listen to some more of Red Heels. And I think this one, if this is a new track, which I guess it's pretty new, it says uploaded 3 months ago. This is another one that could work really well with that library, Kevin, just so you know. You know, the horns are one of the things that I think are one of his really strong points. And correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, are those real horns or are they most likely samples just done really well? And that includes the saxophone a little bit later on. But I mean, that's what you guys should be going for if you are a one-man show as far as doing everything yourself. You want realism because, you know, my clients and most people that I know that are in the music business as far as placing music and stuff, they can find, or they can pick out anything that's overly MIDI and synthesized and synthetic a mile away. They can see that a long way off. And in general, for the most part, that doesn't really appeal to most of the clients that I work with, at least, unless it's for a certain specific period type of piece. You might want that type of sound if you're working on a documentary about the 80s or something. Maybe you want an overly MIDI-fied sound as your background piece of music that you're using for a certain scene. However, most of the time, that's not what we're going for. We're going for realism, and I think Kevin really dials it in here and to me knocks it out of the park because I can't really tell if they're real or not. They sound real, but I don't think they are. Let me know, Kevin. Also, his piano playing is excellent too. That bass line is really cool. So this piece right here could be used for something where the piano needs to stand out. You know, this could fit a certain visual, whereas maybe other parts of the song might not. like those stabs. I don't know if that's horn stabs or not, but I like the way that sounds. It's really cool. Okay, here's the horns. I mean, wow. Yeah, he says they're virtual horns, including the sax. So there you go, guys. If you're doing things, playing it from a keyboard, that's your competition. Because Kevin knocks it out of the park. It sounds like a real saxophone player. I don't think, 99% of the people out there would never be able to tell that that was not a real saxophonist standing there in front of the mic playing, because it sounds real. So way to go. Good job. I think that's one of the coolest things about your submissions, Kevin, is it's really hard for me to tell if it's real or not. And I like that problem, because I don't want to know. Like, I don't really want to know exactly how you did it, because I feel like if I know, then that kind of takes some of the magic out of it for me. So anyway, well done. Let's move on to just a little bit more of this down the track here, just a little bit. It's slightly different sounding, so check this out. Right here's the transition. See how he's giving the editors something else completely different and yet the same that they can work with. It. If this fits their scene better than the parts that we heard up till now, then they could use this instead, and it's all the same song. See, and he's building on the original idea. He's adding little percussion elements and sort of taking it and progressing with it as the song goes. It's not just the same old thing over and over and over. And I hear that all the time, and people do make that mistake often, where they'll come up with a really cool drum loop or something like that, and it goes like that through the whole song from beginning to end, and it doesn't really change. It doesn't really dynamically keep your interest, so it's not like it's boring, but it's, on the other hand, it's better to have more happening in a progressive stage that kind of moves you along as a listener. So I do like Kevin's arrangements and stuff, because he does do that. So is this the same idea here, but he brought in the drum set. Pretty cool. Yeah, and it's got an actual ending versus just fading out, which is pretty cool too, because you think, if you go listen to independent music, most of the time there's going to be a fade out, which that's fine. Fade outs are good, and it's also kind of nice to have some sort of an inventive end to a song too. It just kind of puts a nice little bow on it at the end, a nice little wrap up. So anyway, well done, Kevin. Excellent submission as well. And yeah, synth stabs, he says. Mick says, I could hear it in an alcohol commercial. Yep. Yeah, I like that. The piano and stuff, the way he's got it, it does kind of lend itself to maybe a commercial of some sort. Alcohol or anything. Elaine says, great piano playing and great piano sounds. Like the last song I heard, your selections can stand alone. Yeah. So Kevin's a really talented guy. I would say keep up the great work, and keep submitting, because we've already gotten you a couple placements, but we'll keep working on it, because I think your stuff is exceptionally well done, very well produced and performed. And again, you guys, if you do this style of music, this is your competition. So just know you can look to Kevin as far as someone who is he's really doing everything right as far as the piece of music, the arrangement, the production value, the quality of the whole thing, as far as the mixing and mastering and stuff like that, it's all really well done. I don't really hear anything that I would change or try and improve upon. I think everything he's done here is really good. It's just a matter of finding that perfect thing, whatever that is. And it could be a library placement, and if you get your song in a library, maybe in a few months or years, maybe they're going to be working with a film company or working with a TV production company, and this song of Kevin's fits into a certain scene perfectly. That's what we're going for, and libraries are a really good place to have your songs because, they could sit there for a while, but on the other hand, you have people who are actively trying to place your songs, hopefully, and the chances of you being able to find out about certain opportunities that are really specific are probably few and far between. Whereas if you're working with a library, they're going to have those contacts and people that they know already, and could theoretically get your songs into some pretty cool opportunities that you never would have known of otherwise. Now, depending on the library, of course, you want to look at the contract and definitely keep that in mind. We've gone through contracts and things like that in the monthly Q&A that we do on the last Thursday of the month. We just did one this past Thursday. And, we've looked at different contracts, exclusive contracts versus non-exclusive contracts, and the different, different good things about each, and the different potential pitfalls about each as well. So, it's one of those things where if you're putting out quality content, you have the doors start opening up for you, and you can start getting some different considerations that you might not have otherwise if your songs aren't quite up to the level of someone like a Kevin. So anyway, way to go. Yeah, good track. So let's move on to the next one. Let's see who else we have here. Now, I have another song here by Tony, but I don't think Tony's here. Tony, if you're here, let me know. We have a Tony here, but that's our regular Tony. Tony Taylor's here. Hey, Tony. So maybe we'll come back to this one. This is another instrumental. I put it on earlier just to make sure it worked, but we'll come back to it. So, Mick, you are up. So let's listen to Promises by The Silvers. And The Silvers is a band that I've been listening to their stuff on and off for, I don't know, probably a year or two now or more. I'm not sure. But, man, they're really getting good. And I think this is a really good situation for those of you out there who are in a band who actually get together and play together live, which is pretty amazing these days in this day and time. But I know the Silvers are a band who get together, and I don't know if they gig or not. My guess is that they do. But they're really good, and they're getting better, and that's really, really cool. So let's listen to Promises. It says it's a 60s style song written to reflect the genre of that era. So we'll keep that in mind too. That's pretty interesting. Here we go.
When I look into your eyes, I know that you're telling lies. So why do I keep letting you promise to change your ways? I don't trust people usually. It doesn't come so easily to me. For some odd reason I believe whatever you say. Those promises are all you make. What do you promise today? Because it comes so frequently, I know what you're telling me is another of your dreams, not really meant to be. You can take a tip from me, just listen to yourself and see that the liar you can be hurts me so badly. Those promises come from your lips. What do you promise today? know so well. You seem to want me to believe whatever you say. Hey, hey, when I'm looking in your eyes, I know that you are telling lies. So why do I keep letting you promise to change your ways? Those promises come from your lips. What do you promise today? Hey, promises come from your lips. What do you promise today?
Cool. All right. Let's see here. Let me pause this.
Hi, this is Tim.
Okay. Let's refresh just to get rid of the commercial. And okay, so Promises by the Silvers. I had never heard that one before. I'm not sure if that's a newer one or an older one. Let's see. I guess it's a little older. It says 2 years ago on the page. So, Mick, let me know. I know you said you guys you would be doing some gigging if anything was open. Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully that will happen. You know, it's hard to say at this point, really, but I think this track is really good. I think it's pretty unique sounding. It does fit in perfectly with your other stuff that I've heard. I mean, as far as, you know, it's definitely got that 60s vibe to it, which we've talked about that before. And you've even got the perfect, like, you know, Beach Boys style you know, album cover. Soul Surrender here with the VW bus and sitting at the beach. That's pretty cool. Whoops on the lyrics, he says. It's all with the old lineup. Oh, okay, the old lineup of the band. All right, gotcha. Well, he's got hashtags here for Beatles, Dire Straits, The Who, and the Rolling Stones. Yeah, I mean, to me, it definitely has a 60s era style, and I think it could certainly work in that type of placement situation. Now, you're getting more and more specific. So now the lyric, Promises, is fairly general. So the lyric isn't, to me, necessarily that thing that is super specific sounding. It's the recording. It's the production value of the song, which, you know, I mean, that's kind of you guys' sound is a 60s thing. And I could certainly hear this song in a documentary or in a period piece where they're talking about the 60s, or you know, from the standpoint of sync licensing, you know, an independent film doing a documentary about the 60s, for the most part, unless they had an unbelievable budget, could probably never afford any of the really great songs from the actual 60s. So what you'd have to do is, and what I mean is, the licensing of those songs could be tens of thousands of dollars just for a few seconds or a minute of a certain hit song from the 60s. That's the kind of thing we're talking about. So unless you have an unlimited budget that you're working on your independent film, which most people wouldn't, you know, you would have to look for something that sounds period like this in order to fit it into your film. And you may be talking over the piece. You know, it may not really matter as far as the lyric necessarily. It may be more of a sound that you're going for as the director or the producer of a film or TV show that's working on something about the 60s. So, in other words, what I'm saying is, you know, Mick's song here could be licensed for a lot less money than tens of thousands of dollars, is my guess, for something that sounds sort of 60s-esque and could work perfectly well. You know, and he says this with the old lineup, so maybe this is some different guys in the band that's not in the band now. I'm not real sure. I think that we'll jump around and listen to some different parts of the song here, but the first thing I noticed, you know, and Mick has hired me to do some mixing for them, and I really enjoy their music and like to help where I can. And I think the mix definitely does need some work on this. This is not one that I've mixed. This is actually one that I guess he's had for a while. And I think that the mix is okay. I think it could be better. I feel like the drums, for instance, need more impact. Even if you're going for that 60s style, I think you could still give it more of a modern impact that it doesn't really have at the moment. I like the song though. I think that the lyrics are good. He sent me the lyrics on the Silvers website, which is thesilversmusic.com. You guys, if you want to go there and check it out. But yeah, and the lyrics are really simple. It looks like it's to me that's good, because that tells me that they've spent some time actually thinking about what they want to say. It's not real wordy. That's one of the mistakes that newbie type songwriters often make. They'll when they write lyrics, they'll have too many words in there, and it makes it a mouthful to try and get out for whoever's singing it. So you really want to pare down your lyrics and only have the exact words you need in there and no more, if that makes sense. So I always tell people the key to hit songwriting is there's 3 keys, and that is rewrite, rewrite, rewrite. So rewriting is really important, and I'm in Nashville, whereas, co-writing is really, really big in country music. And I've told people before, that if you go look at Billboard or any other chart that lists hit songs, whether they're on radio or wherever they are, even on a playlist for Spotify or whatever, if you look at the songwriters and the producers, oftentimes, most of the time, there's not just one person listed. It's a group of people. You have a team. And co-writing is really, really key, I think, to being able to put out a piece of music that everybody can feel proud about. And it would be better than just having that song be from just one person. I mean, you're going to have the input of everyone else, in this case in the band, but in the case of co-writers for a country song, for instance, you could have 2 or 3 writers, and you have all of their input as well. You're going to end up with a better end result. That's my opinion, but I think that co-writing is really key, and he's got Orton Kelly here. So 2 guys, I guess, wrote the lyrics. So that tells me that, somebody probably came up with the lyrics originally, and then the other guy jumped in and helped, and they pared it down, and they made it work. And I think that's really great. So let's jump around and listen to some more spots here in the song.
Do I keep letting you promise to change your ways? I don't trust people usually. It doesn't come so easily to me. For some odd reason I believe whatever you say.
I think it's the guitars to me that gives it that 60s style. What do you guys think?
Promises are all you make. What do you promise today?
Yeah, okay, so let's look at chat here for just a second. Tony says, I can definitely hear this as part of a TV show segment and montage. Yeah, yep, that's kind of what I'm thinking too, like a vintage type of scene. May or may not be 60s, but if you're looking for that kind of thing, even without the vocal in there, I think it could certainly pass for 60s. Let's see here. Mick says, I told you one of our songs a little earlier than this recording was picked up by Mel Gibson's sons for their movie Manifest West, due out in October. Okay, cool. Yeah, you did tell me that. I think the drums are synthetic, programmed, not a real drummer on this one. He was sick. Oh, okay. All right. So you don't have your normal drummer in there, but one of their songs was recently picked up by Mel Gibson's sons for the movie Manifest West, due out in October. So congrats on that. Pretty cool, Mick. But not this song. That must be a different one. But yeah. So let's listen to some more here.
Because it comes so frequently, I know what you're telling me is another of your dreams, not really meant to be.
Yeah, and then, the vocals, I think the vocals are good. I feel like they could probably be tuned a little bit in some places, just to make sure that every note you're hitting is the actual note that it should be. Not that you're off that much, but I think those type of tweaks are certainly important, especially for if you're pitching to film and TV. You want to make sure that stuff's all ironed out, so that you don't want to give people a reason to say no. That's what I like to tell people. And if all that's worked out ahead of time and the mix is great, then the production value part of it's kind of in the bag, so to speak. So let's listen to some more.
Sadly, those promises come from your lips. What do you promise today? Hey,
Yeah, I mean, that sort of sound like a Dire Straits song, honestly.
you say, so why do I keep letting you promise to change your ways? Those promises come from your lips.
I like the background vocals. I like what it's doing. I like all the different parts. I just feel like the mix isn't quite there as far as it needs some more strength, some more oomph. Does that make sense? That's why we're using you for future mixes and masters. Okay, well, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that's important, though, is, if you're going to pitch this song as it is, you might want to look at doing a remix on it, honestly, at some point. But maybe you don't want to pitch it until you feel like, the right thing comes along, just to save some money. I mean, that could be as well. I don't know. Let's see what else is being said here in chat. That's why we are using you. Yeah, his phrasing also gives it that era's feel. Yeah, Elaine, good point. Yeah, it does kind of give it that 60s feel. Not so much what he's saying, but how he's doing it. And also, I think the guitar parts definitely have that 60s vibe to it a little bit. But it's cleaner sounding than stuff from the 60s. It sounds more modern. And that's why I'm saying I feel like the mix could be better, but otherwise it's a pretty cool track. I think the lyrics are general enough where it could work in some different situations, but the main issue is that you have that sort of specific 60s era sound in the recording itself, which could be limiting. And for you guys that are here, I always say this because I know some people only ever hear this one broadcast, so I want to get it in here, and that is this. My job as a music supervisor is not to find a place for your song. My job is to find a song for the place. So I always say that because it's so key. It's so important to understand with music supervision. My job, what I get hired to do, is to find a perfect piece of music for a certain place. And if my place that I have says, maybe this particular tempo would be okay. Maybe this particular lyric would be okay, but maybe we're talking about a scene in an independent film that's not based in the 60s. It's more modern. So would this work? And so the answer is probably no in that context. But what if I'm working on a documentary talking about the 60s or something that could pass as the 60s era or 70s maybe even? It could fit perfectly for something like that. So it really just depends on the project. So that's why I always say, if you can get your songs in a good library, that's a good starting place because, you're going to have more options as far as whatever projects they're working on. And then you're talking about dealing with, okay, is it a non-exclusive catalog? Is it an exclusive catalog? Because if it's exclusive, that's going to be more limiting, and yet it could end up being more potential placements if the catalog really believes in your tracks and they're really pushing your tracks. If that is the only outlet you have and you have signed your rights to the publishing over to a catalog, you better hope that they are going to work your song and give it the pushes and stuff that it really deserves, because if you sign exclusive agreements, you don't really have any say anymore. Not really, because you signed it over to another outside entity, Whereas non-exclusive, I like non-exclusive because you still retain all of your rights. In the case of at least one of the clients that we work with, they don't even keep any of the publishing. They split the sync fee with you if they were to get you something, but otherwise, it's all yours. I mean, they don't even keep any of the PRO, the back-end performance royalties if they were to get you a song placed on, a TV show or a commercial or something. You retain all your publishing, you retain all of your back-end PRO type of payments, which is really key to being able to make some money and do this for a living. And we're working in a COVID world at the moment, so it's pretty hard to make money as a band right now because you can't go out and tour. So, music licensing and sync placement is even more important, I think, than it even was before all this happened, because bands just can't go out and tour, or if they do, it's super limited on what they can do. So anyway, well done, Mick. Good job. Let me see if there's any more comments here. Nope. Okay, let's move on. We've got, I think, one more track here for today. And I don't know if Tony's here. This is Amorosa. Here we come. Now, I did play this earlier just to see kind of what it was and make sure it worked. And I do know it's really short. So what we'll do is, I don't normally do this, but this is already the last track for the day. So we're actually going to listen to this one twice because it's only just under a minute long. So I want to give everybody a chance to hear this song, including Tony. And I'm not sure Tony's even here, but he'll be able to hear this as an archive. So here we go. This is called Here We Come, and it's a sports theme. Here we go. Okay, cool. So let's listen to it one more time, just to get it in there a second time, because it's over fast. Yeah. Okay, well, there you go. 57 seconds is pretty short. Most of the time I tell people that, for the songs I pitch, I typically tell people 90 seconds is really a minimum. Now, in this case, it does kind of sound self-contained, like it should only be this long, which is probably fine. But in general, just know that really a minute and a half is kind of what I'm looking for as far as the bare minimum for stuff that I will pitch, just because you really need at least a minute and a half to get some different elements happening in the song to give it some interest and some forward progression before it's over. And in this case, it's short, and it's written to be really short, so it's probably fine. And the quality of it is actually really good. So I haven't looked at chat yet, but my first reaction was, oh wow, it's rocky. And to me it sounds like a rocky kind of theme without it being a rocky theme. Does that make sense? So it sounds like something that could pass for that. So it could work in the context of something like you might hear a rocky type of theme in, whether it's a knockoff type of video, maybe a parody type of video, where they couldn't afford the real Rocky theme, and then they could get something like this instead for a lot less money. But I could see, though, even without that, I could see where it could work. I think that the horns and the arrangement in this little piece are really well done. To me, they sound like real horns. I'm not sure, kind of like going back to Kevin's, I'm not sure they could be synthetic, but they sound real to me, which I think is a great place to be in because I can't really tell for sure. I would like the mix to be a little bit different. I think that the horns are important, and they're certainly front and center here, but I'm kind of losing some of the other elements of the mix. So like the drums, I feel like need to be, I'm a drummer, so I like to hear the drums, you know, but when I'm mixing, I start with that. Like I start with the drums and the percussion and kind of get all that more or less balanced and working, and then I bring in the bass guitar, because those two things really juxtapose each other nicely most of the time in pop music and rock and roll and stuff like that. So it's really good to have the drums and the bass kind of working off of each other, and then bring in the other elements on top of that. When I'm mixing, that's what I do. So, you know, from this standpoint, this song, it almost sounds like they started with the horns and then they brought other stuff in around it, keeping the horns front and center, which they are important. I'll give you that. But let's see here. Let me jump around here. The horn elements really do have a lot of dynamics to them, so that's why I think that they probably are real. I mean, it just sounds like a, you know, like a horn section or trumpets and stuff. And then they bring in the lead guitar for a little while, and I think that works really well. I really like what the guitar's doing. You know, and from an editor standpoint, you could just about use only just this piece if you just needed a few seconds of it, and forget the part about the horns if you didn't want something to remind your viewers of Rocky. If you wanted to stay away from that, you could still use a piece of this song that's the guitar-based part. But yeah, the horn swell and stuff there is really cool. I like the way that happens right here. But I mean, you know, it definitely sounds like a sports theme. It sounds exactly like it should as far as that goes. I think it's a little limiting in that I think it's almost too much like Rocky to me. But on the other hand, I think it could work for something, and it might work well in a library, kind of like some of the other submissions today. It could work well because you never know. Maybe the library is working with somebody who's doing a video game about boxing, and maybe they can't afford the real Rocky theme and wouldn't want to have that in there anyway, but they could use something like this, and it could work perfectly. So overall, I think really great job, Tony. It's pretty cool. Let's see here. Tony Taylor says, very good programming and production. Yeah, I think so too. That's a good comment. I think it is really good. I feel like the mix could be better. That's kind of where I'm at. I wouldn't change anything as far as the arrangements, like what the performances are doing. I think that all works really, really well. So anyways, nice job, Tony. Hopefully you'll hear this at some point soon, and feel free to, you know, reach out. You can reach me through Music Ops or through my website, Diamondisc Audio, and obviously you have my email anyways. So feel free, if you have any questions after hearing this, let me know. But anyway, I think that's it for today, you guys. Like I said, we're going to try and keep it short. We're just at I don't know, an hour and 15 minutes or so. So anyways, that's all I really had for today. Hopefully you guys maybe got a little bit of something out of this whole broadcast today, and you know, we'll be doing it again next month anyway. So if you guys if you missed your chance today, we can always hear your stuff again next month. We're gonna go the last Sunday of April, which again is the, what did I say, the 25th, and then the Thursday night Q&A sessions with Doug, with me, that one will be on April 22nd. So if you've paid to submit here today, you're welcome to that Q&A. It's just a Zoom meeting, and we get together and talk about, you know, anything music placement related, anything music business related. Tony, that's in chat, was actually there on Thursday, and we chatted about some different things. Yeah, he says maybe a corporate themed video or events. Yeah, that's a good point. I think that could work. I think that this Here We Come, I think it really works well. It's just that, to me, I think the mix needs a little bit of a tweak to give it more of an overall balance. But I do think that you're right. It could work for a corporate video, could work for a video game, could work for a library. It wouldn't work for radio or anything like that. It's too short, really, and that's not really what it's been composed for, I'm sure. But anyway, yeah, good point. And so the Q&As that we do, if you've paid to be here today, those are last Thursday of the month Zoom meetings. And this last Thursday we talked about cue sheets. We went over cue sheets and talked about some of the importance that they have, and just keeping your metadata straight. And we also talked about ISRC codes, which, if you guys don't know, you really need to know about that. And there's some different things that we touch on in these meetings that give you a little bit more depth than what we could do on a Sunday live stream broadcast like this. And they're really geared more towards listening to and critiquing the actual songs, whereas the Q&A sessions are more just about getting together and talking. So, anyways, hopefully you guys will check it out. I mean, that archive is, if you missed it, that archive is on diamondiscaudio.com on the sync page. So go to diamondiscaudio.com/sync, SYNC, and you can watch it on there if you want to. You can get some good information, I think, about cue sheets and the importance of having your metadata in order so that you can ensure that you do everything you can to ensure that you get paid when you get a placement. And this would be strictly dealing with money coming back to you through ASCAP and BMI and CSAC, or whatever PRO you're using wherever you are in the world. So anyway, it's important information. It's good stuff to know. So yeah, thanks, Elaine. Appreciate it. Thank you guys for being here today, and I guess we will do it again next month. Hope you guys have a great Sunday today, and we will see you very soon. So we'll talk then, and have a good one. You can reach me again through musicops.com and also through diamondiscaudio.com. So thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon.
Ooh, a fondue set.
Ooh, a fondue set. Let's play a pretty cool song here on the outro. I've got this one. Let's do that. All right, you guys. Take care.
Together we're gonna shine on where you can shine. Come together, streets to seek life, strive on, nothing is right. We turn the corner when we wear the signs. Yeah, we took the love until the end of the line. Oh, we took the water to feel what's fine. Don't be afraid, shine on, life is on time. Shine on, stand together and souls take to ground. Rise on, when it's tearing you down. Learn together through tears of the night. Cry on, feel the hurt that's inside. We turn the corner when we wear the signs. Yeah, we took the love until the end of the line. Oh, we took the water to feel what's fine. Don't be afraid. Life is on time. Life is on time. Life is on time. We fall together, we get up and we shine on, shine on. final.